In the ever-growing sensation that is anime, genres are defined by expectations. Expectation itself is a strong belief that something will happen or be the case, and is a mainstay in the modern society we live in. The same applies to the media we consume, the shows and movies we watch, games we play, and in particular, the anime that we can't seem to stop binging. When we watch a shonen anime, we expect action, adventure, and probably some fighting, while in a sports anime, we expect a high technical focus on the sport itself while having the plot of the story essentially revolve around it. Hop on over to one of my personal favorites, the mecha genre, and we expect a highly convoluted plot with multiple themes woven into the story, with a side of underlying political, psychological, or even religious commentary. If you know, you know. However, even within a single genre, not all anime are made equal, and some don't even follow the genre rules or expectation at all. And that brings us to implicit expectations. Implicit as in implying that it is suggested, but never directly expressed. Take the rom-com genre for example, romance comedy for those who don't know. While we all know the very bare bones of what to expect in a rom-com anime, what we unconsciously look for, as if it is almost second nature to us, is what kind of romance comedy is it? School? Office? Slice of life? Is it a more grounded in reality and heartfelt rom-com? Or is it perhaps a more comedy-heavy spleen-splitting charade? Heck, some romance comedies don't even have comedy in it nowadays. But no matter the case, we can always discern these implicit genres, although they are never clearly stated and mentioned in any category or even by the studio itself, but we can sense them by feel and experience. And that brings us to today's topic of discussion, Make Heroine ga Oosugiru. Makeine, released in summer 2024, has an outstanding rating of 8.13 on my anime list at the time of this video, and it is undoubtedly a great success and from what I hear from avid fans, a good adaptation of the light novel series it is based on. Which means I'm always late to the party having watched it almost a year later in 2025. Damn it. And while I'm sure if you ask any Makeine fan, they will be sure to glaze this anime. Like they will drop down until their knees have skid marks for this anime, I swear to god. With some even claiming it to be the savior of modern anime rom-coms. Cough cough, Roshidere Alya-san, what a flop. But what exactly makes Makeine so good? Some may say it is the stunning visuals with absolutely overkill animations that are nothing less than expected from A1 Pictures, the Lord himself, but in a school rom-com anime, that's honestly surprising, even for me. While some might say it's the stellar voice actors that absolutely bring the characters to life, all while being newcomers, that is novel indeed. Or another common argument is that Makeine's writing and plot are just that good and worthy of praise. And with that last one, let's take a deep dive into it. Makeine prides itself as a romance comedy that takes a perspective shift in a sense that we as the viewer get to focus on the losing heroines in the show, with unconventional character choices such as Nukumizu, the quiet loner as our main character, and the losing heroines as a strong supporting cast. It is undeniably clear that Makeine is trying to do something different, and this is the key that we are looking for, the secret ingredient, the sauce. Why is Makeina so good? One word, subversion. Quite actively, Makeine subverts the expectations of longtime rom-com fans with its interesting choice of cast and plot progression. And while on the topic of subversion, it's clear that undermining traditional plot formulas as well as character tropes can be impactful and meaningful to not only seasoned watchers, but also newcomers. By no means is it a new concept. Other animes and other genres also exhibit the same subversion trope. While some are pivotal in anime history,
穴を掘るなら天をつく墓穴掘っても掘り抜けて突き抜けたなら俺の勝ち
some end up as, well, how do I put this, dumpster fires.
おちんちん大好きですけど
But Makeine goes one step further into uncharted territories. Allow me to show you. Before going any further, once again I'd like to mention that there will be heavy spoilers for Makeine ahead, and if you have not watched Makeine, turn back right now and watch it, or you'll increase your chances of receiving an ass whooping by yours truly, Shizuru, from a whopping 0% to an even more whopping 169%. But anyways, back to Subversion, correct. The best episode that highlights the peak of Subversion in this anime, in my opinion, has to be episode 7, Happy End no Mukogawa, which is translated to the other side of an happy ending. Bro, even the naming conventions of the episodes in this anime are just so peak, and that's not even in the script. I can't stop glazing the show, holy. But yeah, in this episode, essentially, Yakishio Remon, which is the sports tomboy, I think, is that fair to call her a tomboy? Yeah, screw it. Is finally able to confront her crush Mitsuki, which the plot has been building to from this point, as it's coming near to the end of the arc. And from an execution standpoint alone, it's simply amazing. The dialogue is perfectly written, the entirety of the scene, the vibe is one of the most melancholically bittersweet scenes, and oh boy, am I an absolute sucker for bittersweet moments in animes. But it does something that I've actually never seen in romance animes before. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've watched a lot of rom-coms, but of course I haven't watched everything. And the key thing that they do different, which really caught my attention, is the treating of changing of a character's romantic interests with respect and not demeaning the feelings of older attractions compared to the newer ones.
足を怪我した時だろ。
覚えてたんだ。
そりゃそうだよ。読書に勤しんでる真面目な俺にクラスのガキ大将が絡んできたんだ。普通ならトラウマもんだ。
そういう認識。怪我をしたかわいそうな女の子と並んで本を読んだ綺麗な思い出じゃなくて。
お前すぐに飽きるから俺が本の内容を説明する羽目になったよな。
私さ、本とかすぐ眠くなっちゃうけど、美月がお話ししてくれるとなんか聞いてられるんだよね。
ああ。
だから足が治っても一緒にいたんだよ。
Okay, like that was quite a mouthful, but let me explain. Alright, if this was a regular romance anime, it would have Mitsuki treat his interest in Remon as a fleeting fancy and that his new girlfriend Asagumo-san is indeed his true love. Or, on the other side of the coin, he would do the inverse and say that his relationship with Asagumo-san is him settling for less and decide to be with Remon instead. And while not necessarily bad outcomes or plot directions in both cases, they both do something similar, which is downplay the feelings of the heroines and paints our guy, in this case Mitsuki, as a smooth-brained moron who doesn't grasp subtlety and responsibility to a certain extent if we're talking about how one should handle relationships in a realistic sense. But the way Makeine does it, it actually gives both these feelings the weight and the validity that they need and explains how his feelings changed in a very matured and respectful way. And although in my everyday life I've definitely seen absolute shit shows of relationship breakups that go way worse than the aforementioned outcomes, so I can't really say that Makeine is being like 100% realistic, but what I can say is that it definitely has great depth. To put it simply, Makeine puts a lot of thought and depth behind how friendships and relationships are portrayed. Romantic feelings are never not important, especially at a point in time in which we fell in love, but sometimes things just don't work out, and that's life. To this extent, I can personally relate to it to a degree, I can say for sure. The comedy is so absurd and spleen-splitting at times, I can't even count the amount of times I had pain in my side laughing from watching the show, but when it does come down to it, it's always real when it comes to the handling of relationships. Those moments in this show are always heartfelt and are given the emotional weight that they deserve, and coming from an anime that just released as a rom-com, I think that says a lot about it. But anyways, back to the Yakishio and Mitsuki scene. There's another genius yet subtle visual storytelling going on. Oh, who am I kidding? The whole show is full of these small subtle touches, and you can definitely tell the crew had a fun time making it. But throughout the scene, it periodically cuts to an analog clock, like not a digital one, the one with two hands. Yeah, and as the hands on the clock move, I don't know if I'm right, but I interpreted the clock hands aligning with one another during a shot, to show that they were finally on the same page for that one fleeting moment when Lemon confirmed that they unknowingly liked each other for a certain period in time, only for reality to snap back a few seconds later with the clock hands drifting apart again, showing one leaving the other behind. Absolute cinema. What more can I say? This show is so peak in so many different aspects, but I really want to be objective here and not glaze it too much. But yeah. One more great use of subversion in this show is the pacing, surprisingly. And rather than going through the arcs in an order for each of the losing heroines, like traditionally you would go Yanami, Yakishio, and Komari. I think that's it. I don't even think the student representative council girls count. They're just supporting characters. But yeah, rather than doing that, it introduces us all to the relevant characters and gives us a sneak peek, or sort of like a Kickstarter to all the arcs in the first 3 to 4 episodes before delving into each individual one with more detail. And I don't even recall seeing this pattern of pacing before. In fact, when I first watched the show, I thought it was speed running its pacing at first, which worried me greatly considering how much people were praising the show. But after finishing it, I can wholeheartedly vouch for this kind of pacing and how it actually immerses watchers even more, as it gives the illusion of a simultaneous arc progression on the same timeline, rather than a linear arc to arc pattern that you would find in I guess in a generic anime. It kind of has a linear structure to it. I mean, yeah, it's realistic, but how many times can I say realistic? I gotta think of better objectives. Yeah. Another standout to me is actually when Nukun and main girl Yanami get into a misunderstanding closer to the third quarter of the show. A traditional staple of rom-com animes is the misunderstanding between main girl and main dude, and I was fully prepared to like sit out several episodes at least while they give each other the cold shoulder. This is, I don't know, there's so many even classic good animes that does this. I was like 100% expecting it. Yeah, and usually it like fizzles and resolves in a super explosive way, and usually like that's a big turning point for the plot. Sometimes it's even the climax of the plot. But surprisingly, in Makeine, the misunderstanding gets cleared up in a calm, civil way in the same episode. And like, I might sound like I'm over exaggerating, but as a classic anime watcher, I am astounded that this is even possible. Definitely a step in the right direction for the genre. I totally agree with that. I mean, maybe I'm just numb to like a lot of, I wouldn't even say filler. It's like, you know what it is, filler. Fillers of like the main characters, or even the main heroine and the main hero. I don't even, no, I can't even say that. The main dude and the main hero having like an argument that usually takes like what? I think 8 episodes on average back in the day. So yeah, thumbs up to A1 Pictures for that. Or maybe if it's the pacing of the light novel, I think that's where credit is due. But yeah, while I could yap all day long on how Makeine is peak and how it has so much to be discussed upon, I just wanted to share what I think is the main backbone that makes Makeine so good and what makes it absolutely peak. And once again, I don't really make these kind of videos, but watching Makeine really triggered that implicit expectation that I have that reminded me of all the classic anime I watched that I almost want to call them like special kind of slice of lives. Yeah, they're definitely like more sensitive and more intelligent. I have like a pseudo category for them. A good example would be Oosugiru, my personal favorite from almost a decade ago. Toradora, an absolute banger of a slice of life rom-com. Bunny Girl Senpai to some extent, and this might be controversial, but I think Oremo is also highly sensitive and intelligent for an anime. And yeah, I think Makeine belongs up there with these top dogs in a tier of its own tier list for me if you decide to. I don't know. It's my choice. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah, I don't really make these kind of videos. It does kind of take a lot of effort in my very tightly packed schedule. So I hope you all enjoy it. My fans have requested for a anime review or analysis breakdown. Yeah, I really don't want to be known as that Yosuga no Sora guy. So here I am for all my loyal fan base who have been watching. Thank you very much. I really couldn't have done it without the supportive comments that I get from my videos every week. And let me know if you guys want to see any more of Makeine content. I could definitely do one on why I think Komari Chika is 100% best girl. Fight me in the parking lot. I will win 100%. Or anything else, like if there's any other rom-coms you would like me to break down, definitely leave it down in the comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.